Hey everyone, welcome to the Literary Lounge. I'm Paige.
And I'm Emily.
And today we are going to be talking about Glow by Raven Kennedy. This is the fourth book in the Plated Prisoner series. And our drink today is a tea. What was the brand of the tea?
David's tea.
David's tea. Okay. Yeah, and it's called The Glow.
Mm-hmm.
So we thought it was very fitting.
Yeah, it came to me like, you know how sometimes the universe just like puts stuff in front of you?
Yeah.
This was like one of those instances like where I was, so this week my throat has been so dry and like scratchy. Like I feel like I have like a little bit of a cold going on. And so I'm like, oh, I need to have like some tea and honey or something. Open my like pantry closet and it's like right there. And I'm
Perfect.
like, all right, that's the name of the book. Like I need tea. This is like what we're going to go with.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like down to kind of take a break from the alcoholic drinks because obviously I can't have any. So
Yeah,
like
you're missing
it's
out.
nice to
Yeah.
like we'll probably like work in some like mocktails or like handmade coffee drinks or like some like tea drinks that are non-alcoholic just to switch things up for those who don't like
Yeah.
drinking alcohol.
Well, because you've been on such like a pumpkin spice kick lately with like your pregnancy cravings and you just like it in general, like
Yeah.
we should come up with some like pumpkin-y ones for fall.
Oh, 100%. I am totally down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Some like pumpkin like mocktails and then like some pumpkin coffees. Hell yeah.
Yep.
Let's
Okay.
do it.
We're doing it.
Yeah. But this will be a spoiler episode. So if you haven't read the book, make sure you hop off, go read it. You can always come back. This podcast will always be up. So read it first. If you have read it, stay tuned. We are going to spoil the heck out of this book. And yeah. So our question of the day is, what are you most excited for the Minnesota State Fair?
Oh my gosh. I am so excited for that. For sure the fried pickles.
Oh yeah.
I get the kind that has the cream cheese sandwiched in the middle and then it's like fried around the outside.
Those are the best. Yeah.
Those are like hands down my favorite part about the state fair.
Yeah. Same.
But then like non-food wise, I just like walking around. I mean, I love to go pet the golden retrievers at like the animal area. I can't remember what they call it, but it's like where they have all the rescues or like the different breeds of dogs. I like to go pet the like rescue Goldens.
Yeah, that's my favorite area too, the state fair, just to like go see all the dogs. It's like where they have like the like the dog agility thing or whatever.
Yeah.
The dog competition, and they have like all the breeders and then yeah.
So then Nick
cute.
and I will do our like annual like me begging for another golden and him being like, oh my God, here we go again.
Yeah, last year it was like, wasn't it like if he was able to get a boat, you were able to get a dog when we went to the state
something
fair?
about that doesn't feel fair. One is less expensive than the other.
Yeah, we were, I don't know, I might end up changing my mind, especially since you like brought up the freaking fried pickles with the cream cheese. That sounds so good. I literally love those. Yeah. I like always make like a beeline to like that when we get there.
We go twice in the same day.
Oh,
like that's the first thing.
I'd go like 3
then,
times.
Yeah, one of the last things.
Yeah. But I think we've kind of decided we're not going to go this year just because I'm going to be pretty pregnant and like walking around, and usually it's like super hot when we're there. So it's like just going to be kind of a lot.
Yeah.
Back's going to hurt. Just like everything that comes with pregnancy is just probably going to be a lot.
Yeah.
But like if we do change our minds, obviously the pickles, usually I look forward to the beer. So that's kind of like another reason why we're like probably not going to go. Cause like we really love, I mean, David can still try the beer. That's fine. But like, I really love like trying all the different beers because they have like such unique beers, like the chocolate chip cookie one or like
the baklava one we had last year.
Yep. Or like they have like cotton candy usually. Like they just have so many cool beers to like try. And like, that's like my favorite to do is just to like try all the different beers. So it's going to be kind of upsetting for me to like go there and not be able to like try them. But obviously like just trying all the food is like so fun anyway.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I don't think we're going to end up going this year. I'll probably just wait for next year. But if we do, definitely heading towards the pickles.
So next year when you go, will you stroller it or leave baby home?
I feel like every year we always go like more than once. So I feel like one time we'd probably bring her, and then the next time I'll probably like leave her with his
and
parents.
do more like a mom and dad's night out kind of thing.
Yeah.
Maybe go to a concert or something fun.
Yeah.
Well, let me know. I will come with.
Oh, heck
I will
yeah.
come both scenarios.
Sounds good. Yeah. Oh, you can come with little baby Sienna.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to hold her.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I'm excited. But yeah. All right. Should we get into it?
Let's do it.
Sounds good.
Okay, so start of this book, we are left from the major cliffhanger from Gleam, where she essentially, Auren went like absolutely bananas and like gilded everything in her path and killed King Midas. And the only way to like stop her, Slade like rots her basically from the inside out, and he's able to like reverse it, but it's like to put her at risk like that is the only way. So like basically that book just ends where they like fly off into the sunset kind of thing. Like we don't know what happens. And so this one like starts off where he's trying to undo what he did.
Yeah. Yeah. And so like he finally, so they're like battling like a storm trying to fly away from the fifth. And they finally like, they're like battling through a storm, like getting like knocked around by like the rain and the wind, or I think there's like hail too. But anyway, they finally find a safe place to like land. And like he's like on a time crunch right now. Like he needs to get this rot out of her before like the effects of it are like irreversible.
Yeah.
'Cause like I know somewhere in the book he said like sometimes like people aren't the same when he unrots them. Like things can change. So he finally like finds a safe place to land, and he tries to like suck the rot out of her, but there's like a stubborn piece that will not come out of her heart, like a little seed. And no matter like how hard he tries, like it's not coming out. So he's like kind of having this feeling like, okay, like why is this not coming out? Like, is my power like telling me like she's still like kind of dangerous? She's like, the seed is like stopping her from like going batshit again, you know? So yeah. So he sucks out most of the rot except that seed, and she still isn't like waking up. So he takes her to Drollard, and this is like that in the third book. This is like that place where he like negotiated. That was like part of the fifth. He like negotiated that to be his land.
Yeah.
And we find out like later like what that place really is. But like it's a very hidden like small little city that has a very small population. No one knows about it. And so he takes her there to rest, and then he's like spends days like just like watching over her. So she's like going days without like eating or drinking, like not waking up. And finally she like wakes up, and he like brings her, wasn't it like he brought her like this cave or something like that? Yeah. He like brought her to this cave, and she like wakes up, and he brought her to the cave because she was like leaking gold everywhere. Yeah. So he wanted to get her away from like their house and like away from anything in case like she like blew up again. And so he brought her to the cave. She like wakes up and then just like attacks him in a different way.
Jumps his bones. Yeah.
Like, so that happened. She's like very frisky, and
it was just like, I don't know, so bizarre. And like he was like giving her a pep talk like while they were like
it was kind of cute though. Like
you thought it was cute. I was like, oh.
Well, I think because like he knew like she didn't seem like Auren completely yet. Yeah. So he was like, he wasn't necessarily like, I wouldn't say like a pep talk. I think he was just trying to like, cause she was still very like, it's not monsterish, but like she still was like that. What was back in the fifth, like what she was back in fifth, like
feral.
Yeah. Thank you. So I think he was like trying to like not talk her down, but like trying to like coax out herself out of her, I guess, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah, bring her back.
Yeah. 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 But I don't know. I thought it was like kind of cute because he's like trying to like save her, but like wants to get it at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doing all the things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway.
Oh, I did like though how like finally like a spice scene like came up like towards the beginning instead of like waiting
we
the
didn't
whole
have
book
to wait
and then,
300 pages for something to happen.
But I will say there is a lot of spice scenes in this book, and a lot of them like grossed me out. Like,
why?
They were just too much. Some of them,
yeah,
like too dirty. I guess like.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was just kind of like, oh, like that's gross.
I think I was just bothered by all the talking he was doing.
He does a lot of talking.
Yeah, like it felt like a pep talk to me in the first instance, and then it kind of seemed like he kept doing it, like talking to her. And just like me personally, like I wouldn't like that being in that scenario.
She likes it, so I guess like whatever she likes.
Yeah, that's true.
Still, just like some of like they got really dirty.
Yeah.
During some of the scenes, and I was just kind of like, ugh, that's kind of gross. So I don't know. Yeah.
The author just can't win. We're mad when we don't get the spice.
But I was happy with the spice. I just like it's not for me. Like the way that they were like
going about it.
Yeah. Like
I got you.
Yeah.
Yep. So I guess like on the other side of the world, like Queen Kayla's cooking up like a rumor basically, because I think she does believe that Auren like steals people's magic. Like she doesn't think that she had it all along.
Yeah.
And so she's like basically telling all the other kingdoms like lies and trying to convince them that like Auren's like a danger to society.
Yep.
And so that's kind of lingering over them while they're kind of hiding out in this like Drawlard village, which later on in the book kind of comes to a head. But yeah, so then while they're there, like we find out a lot more about Slade's like background.
Yep.
Like a lot more than in the past at all. But we find out that like he grew up like in the Fae world. And so his dad was like Fae, his mom she was like human. And when he was like growing up, his dad was always trying to like get him to like develop his powers.
Yep.
And his dad's ability was to like break things, objects, people, anything, like very nefarious. And so like we learned that his dad was like abusive to his mom.
I would say to all of them.
Yeah, to the kids, him and his brother Riot too, and how Riot like never had powers. And then it kind of what the last part we find out about him is that his mom was actually like cheating on his dad, like behind his back, and
with one of the servants.
Yeah, and Riot is actually like Slade's half brother because of that, and so like his dad finds out and like tries to harm his mom.
Yeah,
and then he like kills him in the process to protect her, and like while he's doing that, oh go ahead.
I don't think he died.
He didn't die?
I don't think so.
Oh,
because I thought that too, and then later on in the book, it said something about like. I swear it said something about like how his dad is like still there. Like he didn't get sent. I mean, maybe he died, but like I don't think he's dead. I think something like hinted that he's not dead.
Oh, okay.
Which is kind of my prediction for the next book too. But
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it didn't necessarily say he died. Oh, they just kind of both flung back and then like a tear opened in the world.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I read but I could be wrong too, but I'm pretty sure it. Yeah. So.
Well, we will see.
It's not like a straightforward thing. I think it's more like behind the line, like, you know.
Yeah, like
read between the lines.
Yeah, like maybe he did, maybe he didn't.
Yeah.
Whoa. So then when he ripped like a hole in between the two worlds, himself, his mom, brother, and then everybody else like in that Fae like town that was living there with them. Or it's like the servants. It was in the
building.
Yeah, whoever was like within reach, I guess, like fell into like the human world with them. And so like Auren, when she's like feeling well enough to like walk around and stuff and like check out like the village and like meet people, they're all adults. Like there's no children, and they're all kind of like weird. Just like something really off about them. And so that just kind of explains like they're all fae that are like kind of trapped there. They can't like leave the rip.
So that's another thing too. So sorry, they're not fae. They're Aurians. The only thing with them is when they brought the Aurians to, what is it called? The fae world, Anwell.
Oh, I don't remember.
Yeah, I think it's like Anwell or something. They live longer there. So like the thing with the villagers is they're actually all Aurian, but they're like hundreds of years old. And if they leave that area where the rip is, because they're like pretty much feeding off that rip's power.
Yeah.
If they leave that area, they'll die. So like they have to stay in Drollard or
It's Deadwell. It's like the area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they like have to stay there. And then another thing to mention too, which I'm going to bring up later with my predictions, but like his mom is Aurian, but she has powers as well.
Yeah.
Which I don't understand really like exactly what it is. It was kind of like, it seems useless.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess like it's the same scenario as like Queen Kayla, right? Like she's human with powers.
Yep.
So it's like that kind of thing.
Yeah, but her power, it was like weird because they like demonstrated it at like a table when they were kids, and it was like she just had like words going across her eyes and was like silent, and like that's it. Like nothing like happened.
Yeah.
So like I'm really curious to see like what her power actually is, because in Dadwell she's like mute now.
Yeah.
So like yeah, I just want to see like if they're gonna like dive deeper into that.
Yeah.
And like she's like, what if she's like just super powerful, you know, like
yeah,
it's like something that's like
yeah,
gonna like save the world or something, you know.
Right.
But yeah. Yeah, so like that Rip he tore is like how he got his nickname Rip.
Yeah.
Which I never would have like guessed.
No, I thought it was like hinting at like his kind of ruthless like facade.
Yeah. Yep. And that's like, I thought it was funny like in the first books how like his wrath and like all of his friends are like making up all these rumors about how he got it. I thought that was really cute.
Okay, wrath. When I was like thinking back on this book, I was like, God, what did he call his like group of friends that helped him? But the thing that kept coming to my head was like a gaggle.
A what?
A gaggle.
A gaggle?
Isn't that like a flock of birds? It's like a gaggle.
I have no idea.
But anyways.
Well, you would know that. You're scared of birds. Oh shit, a gaggle's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
a gaggle of them.
That's funny.
They were like, that's not right.
Yeah, no, it's wrath.
Yeah. So we also learn about like Auren's past some more too. I mean, we have throughout like all of these books so far, but like we get even further into it. How like, so remind me, she like met this like older woman.
Yep.
Like while she was traveling, and the woman like took her under her wing, like gave her a place to stay. And then like in the middle of the night, this like strange man came in, and she thought he was like breaking in to like rob them or harm them. And she kind of like out of control, like gilded him.
Yep.
And then found out that that was like the woman's brother.
Correct. Yep. So this is taking place in Carnith. And it kind of like hinted like in previous books, like something happened in Carnith that she's like very ashamed about.
Right.
Yep.
And then she like took out that whole town too.
Yeah. She like gilded the entire town and like killed everyone by accident.
Because she was like just so upset, right? That she's like kind of lost control.
Yeah.
Just wiped out like an entire city.
Yeah. But it was like a different losing control. Like wasn't losing control like she did in 5th. It was like, because I know like one of the people that she killed, she like ran up and like grabbed her, was like, please help me, and like gilded them in the process.
Yeah.
Like
it was more just like she didn't know what to do.
Exactly. Yeah. But at that, I don't know if we like talked about this in the past book, but we find out that like what's his name? Midas was like that other
yeah. He was like the thief king or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Like who has like what are they called? The people that sleep with people.
Saddles.
Yeah. He was like he like controlled like Saddles, like the other guy.
Yeah.
But he like, that's how he like found her and like followed her.
Yeah.
Was
He's like a pimp
because of that. Yeah. Yeah. So that's pretty much like what we learned about Auren's past.
Mm-hmm.
We still don't really know like how she got to Aurea.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was like through the rip. I think the bridge was like broken. I don't think anyone really knows yet. I feel like we're going to find that out in the next book.
Yeah. We're going to get more like pieces of the past that kind of tie everything together.
The next one is like the last one, right?
I think, but I'm not 100% certain.
Okay. Yeah. So like talking about their past and everything, do you think that Auren and Slade's behavior and like the choices they've made in their past align with like what's going on now and like how they're behaving?
Yeah, I think so. Like it just, we're learning more about like why they are the way they are, just with her. Like we kind of talked about how she was like a damsel in distress in the beginning, and then how we've been like rooting for her like the whole time to just like fight for herself, you know?
Yeah.
And so it just makes a ton of sense now, like why she was like that, because like she spent most of her life like, you know, running or in prostitution, like, and then harming all these innocent people. Like, no wonder she was like willingly going into a cage, like at the end of all of that, because she's like, I'm a danger to society. This is the only person like in the last however many years that showed me love, like Midas, you know, taking her like under his wing.
Yep.
Like that all makes like perfect sense, like just seeing like everything she's been through.
Yeah. And not even just like a danger to herself, but like also just like, because people like used her and like wanted like her hair, like they've chopped her hair off before, and like just because she's made of gold, so like just to like as like protection, but for her, but then like also protection from her as well. So yeah, it's pretty sad.
Yeah. And then Slade, like, I think he definitely feels responsible for those people, because he's like the reason that they're there, and they're like, you know, they can't go anywhere. They have to stay nearby like the rip. Yeah. Like, I feel like he's just constantly like trying to look after people and stuff, because he just feels like he made a big mistake, or maybe not so much a mistake, but he just feels responsible for like their predicament. Yeah. And like he feels like a certain way, you know, to like protect his mom, his brother, and all that stuff.
Yeah. I feel bad because he has like such a huge weight on him with everything. And like, I just feel like he has so much responsibility that like, how can you like function?
I know.
That's
gotta be heavy.
And on top of that, like he has to like drain himself every like 4 to 6 weeks or something like that to like drain his power into like the rip to like keep all those people alive.
Yeah.
He got doing like his kingly duties and taking care of the people of Drollard and dealing with like the whole predicament with like Auren and like Queen Kayla and everything. It's just a lot.
Yeah. Sounds exhausting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So during this time, Auren's kind of like coming to terms with she needs to like work on like controlling her power. She's healing, obviously. She doesn't have her ribbons anymore, so like that's been healing.
Yeah.
But she's like practicing her gold, how to control it. She finally is able to get to a point where she can like be in daylight without gloves and like touch things and not gild them, which is like big for her. And she can still like harness her like power at night, in the sense of like she can't make new gold, but she can like control gold she's already made.
Yeah.
Which is like also another big deal for her. But with all this, Slade decides to take Auren to the Fourth Kingdom because she's finally able to control herself. And he knows like it's going to be safe, but he needs to get her there because the third, Queen Kayla, is sending one of her ambassadors, which is her brother, to the Fourth to talk to Slade about getting Auren to the Conflux.
Yeah, to like basically turn her over.
Yep. So they like go back and his name is Manu. Is that how you say it?
Manu? Yeah, Manu. I think so.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, better.
So like when they first get there, she's like blown away by like the beauty of the city. Like she's only ever been in snow. She's never really seen daylight that often. So he like takes her out to town like the next day, and like people, like the rumors have already spread that she like stole King Midas' power, and she's like there to steal King Ravengers, and just like all these rumors are flying around, and that kind of like gets to her, which is really sad.
Calling her like a king hopper or like something like that.
And like she kind of like it gets to her so much, she kind of like starts in a sense to believe it. Like she's like am I really a king hopper? Like what if she like starts to question everything at this point? And like I didn't like this part when she was like, well, what if I want to kiss someone else, or what if I want to climb mountains, and like what if I want to go do this? And like poor Slade, like
he's done so much for her, and
he
she's
like
just
loves her so much.
Maybe I don't want this after all. It's like, what?
Like, maybe I want to sleep with someone else. And then he loves her so much. He's like, if that's like what's gonna make you feel better, then you can do that. You can do whatever is going to make you feel better, but I'm going to be there right next to you. Like
I'm going to be watching the whole time.
Exactly. And then I'm going to show you why it's me, not that, you know.
I know. I remember that part too. I was like, don't say that.
I know. I was like, that's so mean. Like,
I don't know. I guess she's just being honest, but
still, like, how could you ever want anyone else except Slade with the way he's like treated you and like made you feel so special? The best. Exactly. Yeah, he's like a bad boy, but like good, you know?
I know. It's like what everybody wants.
Yeah. Yeah. So, they hook up again in a carriage.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty dirty.
Yeah.
But, then they go back. They have like the meeting with Manu. And it doesn't really like go that well. Slade's obviously like, no, I'm not.
Yeah, we're not like, turning her over.
Yeah, exactly. He like has a feeling like it's going to be a trap.
Yeah. Yeah, and like Manu threatens like that all the other kingdoms are going to like cut off their supplies.
Yeah.
To Fourth, and so like basic necessities and resources will no longer be available to them that previously were, and they only have like a month's worth of reserves to like get by without those like additional resources. Basically like putting them between like a rock and a hard place, like which like Slade's like, if that's what we got to do, that's what we got to do. And like, isn't Riot kind of like turn her over?
Yeah, he's been like that the whole time. Like,
yeah, he's been like weird about her in this book.
Yeah.
So I don't know, they're like, Auren obviously feels like so guilty about the whole thing. And so then like, I don't know if it's like the next day or something, but her and like Rissa go for a walk in the gardens, and they're like jumped by like these guards.
Yeah.
And so one of them like stabs Rissa, and they like kidnap Auren.
Yeah. One thing I really like about this author that I wanted to bring up is like, well, I guess first let's like jump really quick to like the next thing that happens, and I can explain it. So like, yeah, they take Auren, and then Slade finds out. He takes his Argo, his like Timberwing, I think they're called, and flies, and then the Timberwing gets shot down.
Yeah.
But like in both of these instances, I love how like the author, like I was so stressed out when that happened for both of them.
Yeah.
And I love like that, like she like gives you those like moments that like you're like insanely stressed, but then like relieves that, and they didn't actually die. Like,
yeah.
Like I liked how like she makes you think that they're like dead, but then like comes back and still kind of gives you like the happy ending.
Yeah.
Like you still get the experience of like, oh shit, like this is like really bad. But, and like I was so rooting for like Osric and her at this point.
Yeah.
And like I was just like, that happened so fast. Like nothing was able to happen between those two. And like yeah, I just like how like later on, like she leads you to believe that she's dead, and then later on is like, oh no, she's like getting treated.
Yeah.
I mean, she did say, or they said like that she could still not make it, but at least like she didn't die there, you know? And the same thing with the Timberwing.
I know. I was like, if he dies, like, I'm going to be so upset because, like, I am just really, like, when authors, like, kill animals,
Yeah.
I'm like, you're a fucking horrible person.
Same with, like, movies, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, like, they ended that chapter when the Timberwing got shot down, like, when he was, like, it sounded like he was going to, like, rot the Timberwing so the Timberwing didn't have to, like, sit there and suffer in the desert.
Yeah.
And it, like, all it said, what Slade said was, like, I'm so sorry. And then that's, like, how the chapter ended. And I was like, oh, no, he rotted him. He's dead. But then, like, all of a sudden, like, later on, Slade shows up and, like, said that, like, the Timberwing is, like...
They're bringing him back or whatever.
Yeah.
I know, yeah, I totally agree. It was, like, such a heart-pumping ending. Yeah, so just kind of, like, segueing into that whole kind of major ending piece is how she, like, is put through, like, the clearing. Remind me which kingdom this is. Is this the first or second? Second. Where they basically, like, cleanse her. And it's, like, the weirdest thing. Like, you know what I was picturing in this moment was, like, you know, where Cersei is, like, dragged naked through the streets in Game of Thrones.
Yes.
And there's that, like, lady that's like, shame.
I thought the same exact
thing. That's, like, literally what I pictured.
Same here. I literally thought the same exact thing.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the same thing.
It is. Yeah.
I was wondering when I was reading that if she got inspiration from that.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, probably. This book isn't that old. So I could see that.
Yeah.
But that's literally what I pictured is, like, those kind of, like, nun women from Game of Thrones and, like, the white.
Yeah. In Game of Thrones, too, didn't they, like, cleanse her as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They, like, scrubbed her, cut her hair off. Except, granted, Auren didn't need to walk naked through the streets, thank goodness. But, like...
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. So then they, like, put her through the Conflux, which is essentially, like, she has to stand up in front of everybody. And that she's, like, inside this circle that's, like, draining her of her power. Like, the gold is just dripping out of her.
Well, the thing that I don't like... Because she was, like, fine before. She was, like, going to use her power, and that's when it started. But, like, Queen, or whatever her name is, I was going to say Queen Kayla, but the Queen of the Second said, like, you can't use your power during the conflicts beforehand. So it's, like, she kind of, like, did that to herself in a way. Like,
so it wouldn't have drained out?
I don't think so. Well, maybe.
If she hadn't tried? I thought it just, like, pulled it out.
Well, because it wasn't pulling it out at first until she tried to use it.
Oh.
So, like, that's why I'm not sure. That's just what I assume.
Yeah.
But yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, so they, like, basically we knew this was going to happen, but, like, all the kings and queens are like, she's guilty because Queen Kayla, like, accuses her of stealing. And two, like, while her power is being drained out, like, some of the rot that was inside of her, like, is also draining out. So that just basically confirms, like, what everybody else was thinking.
Exactly. Yeah. Of course that happens.
Yep.
Yeah. So they're kind of, like, all agreeing to kill her now.
Yeah.
Because of this. And literally they have, like, these, like, soldiers all having, like, swords and, like, around, like, the circle pillar cage thing, and, like, have their swords at the ready, like, they're all going to stab her at the same time. And it was, I think, like, 7 swords, like, one for each kingdom or whatever. And right, like, when she's, like, about to get stabbed, I think, like, some do impale her, like, a little bit, but, like, not enough to, like, kill her.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, like, rot starts appearing. Like, literally, like, you couldn't have any more perfect timing.
Yeah.
And here comes her savior.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so Slade shows up, starts, like, killing everyone that's, like, watching the conflicts. And they have, like, this little kid, which is, like, the queen's son, the queen of second son. And he, like, can, like, create, like, a barrier
with, like
his power.
String,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, he, like, pulls a string and, like, it creates, like, a barrier around everyone. And, like, Slade's trying to, like, break through it to, like, get to them and get to Auren.
Yeah.
And he, like, can't. And then he, like, finally is able to, like, try to convince them to take it down. But this kid's, like, starting to have a seizure because he's, like, his power is, like,
it's getting too much.
Yeah. So the barrier doesn't come down, but like they think like the kid like passed out or something like that, but the barrier's still up. So Auren's like dying and like bleeding out into her gold because she still got impaled. And they can't let her out. So Slade's only like option that he can think of is to use his like deep power that's like not his rot power to like tear a hole next to Auren and drop her to Anwell.
Yeah.
So he like makes another rip in the world and Auren has to like jump through it to like save herself. And I thought that was so sad when they were like saying bye to each other and like, I'll find you in the next life or another life or something like that or another world. I felt so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that happens and then they kind of flee. Everyone goes their separate ways. Slade's pissed, like threatening to like rot everything in existence because of what they did. And they go back to Deadwell and they find out that the rip is gone and everyone is gone with it.
Yeah.
That's how it ends. Like,
yeah, such a cliffhanger.
Me the fuck out.
Yeah. And this is just crazy because this is opening up the next book to like so many possibilities.
Oh my God.
mean, we can get into our predictions in a second, but like, we don't know what's going to happen now at all.
Yeah. And like another thing too with this of what I was explaining earlier, how like the author kind of gives you like that reassurance after something bad happens.
Yeah.
The epilogue goes back to Queen Kayla and how we didn't really like talk about her story at all, but she like goes to the 7th.
Queen Melina.
Melina. Yep. My bad. Okay. Sorry. Queen Melina. We didn't like go into her story that much, but she like gets taken to the 7th and they find like the kingdom or whatever. And like, there's these 2 fae that are there. They're like twins and they like kind of trick her into like using her blood to reopen the bridge, to repair the bridge that crossed the 2 worlds. And sorry if I'm saying that wrong because I think that's what it's called. Anwell and Aurea. And like, that was just like another piece of reassurance because like the book ended with like the rip being gone. Like, how the hell are they going to find each other? The bridge isn't there. The rips aren't there.
Yeah.
He has like, he can't summon the rip because his power is so drained. And he's like worried that he's not going to get it back. But then like, she like kind of reassures you like, oh, the bridge is back, you know?
Yeah.
So like, there's some way they can like get to each other.
Right.
But like the epilogue ends with them like fae crossing over, like kind of ready to like take back Aurea or to like take over Aurea, which is like scary.
So again, I read this book a while ago. Do we know why they were separated in the first place? Like the 2 different worlds, or is it always just been that way?
They might have talked about it in like a previous book. They didn't talk about it in this book, I don't think.
Because I'm just wondering, like, is that bad? Like, that the fae are coming over? You know what I mean?
The way that they described it, yes. Because I think, like, the 2 twin fae that, like, made the bridge come back, they're like, oh, the fae are coming to take over Aurea.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously the twins were bad. Like, you could tell they were up to no good. And Queen Melina just, like, fell right into it. Like, she had no questions, qualms, nothing about this. She's like, okay.
Queen Melina is so fucking dumb. I swear to God. I do not like her.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's just kind of where it ends.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah, we kind of talked about secondary plots with like Melina and 7th Kingdom. What'd you think of like Rissa and Ostrich? Like,
I'm rooting for them.
Yeah.
I like them together. It reminds me of like, okay, so like going to ACOTAR.
Yeah.
Like Slade and Auren remind me of like Rhys and Feyre. And then Ostrich and Rissa remind me of Cassian and I guess like, cause I haven't read all of Silver Flames yet. Yeah. So like, I don't know like much about the relationship, but like what I do know, they remind me of Cassian and Nesta kind of.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, no, it's fun like having another couple to root for because like sometimes like the best parts of these sorts of books is like watching the relationship build and like the whole like will they won't they conflicts and just like waiting to see what happens. And so now we're kind of like getting that again with these two. Yeah. And so when she died, I was like, what? Like,
I know.
Well, I thought something was going to happen between them.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Maybe it still will.
I hope so. Yeah. I think it will. One thing like I don't really like about, and I love these books. They're great. But like I get so bored during like Queen Kayla's parts or Queen Melina's parts. The only part I wasn't bored with was like the epilogue. Yeah. With Queen Melina. But like all the other parts, I'm like, come on. Like I just try to like skim through it as fast as I can and like get to the next part, you know? Mm-hmm. I don't know. What do you think about like those different storylines?
I feel the same way and even like we were getting like Slade's point of view in this book too, right? Mm-hmm. I don't love jumping points of view. Really? I guess take that back. I do like it sometimes, especially in like thrillers where you're kind of like trying to figure out who did it. And there's all these different people that have different pieces to what really happened. And trying to piece that all together as a reader is fun. But for this story, I was like, I'm probably fine with just like Auren's point of view. Although I did understand why we got Slade's because she was knocked out for like a good portion of the book. So like, what else are we going to do kind of thing. But yeah, I agree. The other like secondary characters, I was just kind of like, okay, move on. I mean, Melina's, I was a little bit intrigued because she's been just so far off in like her own little story that I'm like, where is this going? But I prefer to read about Auren above all else.
Yeah. Sorry, if you can hear my dogs barking in the back. Brooklyn! Stop. I liked Slade and Auren's point of view. I didn't mind, like, I was still satisfied enough with like Slade's point of view just because it still had to do with like Auren. Yeah. But oh my God. Brooklyn! No! It's because David left.
Yeah, I saw a car pull out.
Sorry about that. Sorry again if you hear the dogs. But I liked Slade's point of view just because he still talked about Auren. But I didn't like I was super bored when it jumped into Slade's past. I didn't care too much about those chapters until they got interesting, you know? Right. Like, so I thought most of it was like pretty boring.
Even like Auren's past, I kind of felt that way too in the other books.
Same. I feel like any books I read where it like jumps to the past, I'm like always like, come on. Yeah. Like, I don't care.
You don't need to tell me why she's
we're
traumatized.
In the future already.
I just know she is.
Yeah, exactly. So, except the Carneth thing. Like, that was interesting, I thought. Yeah. But like everything else, it's like, I don't care when you jumped boat, you know? Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Agreed.
Yeah. All right. Well, big question. Where do you think the series is headed for gold?
Oh my gosh. Like I said, I have no clue. Like there's so many different things that could happen. Obviously the Fae are coming over. Like we've learned this at the very end of this book. Mm-hmm. So I feel like she's going to get over there. She's in the Fae world. And Slade's going to be desperate to find her. So he's obviously going to probably take this long journey to try to get back in there. And the Fae are probably going to be kind of in the middle of the two of them trying to like reunite. Yeah. One of them's going to get captured by the Fae or stopped by the Fae. It's like, you know, I feel like this book will be a lot of like them trying to get back to one another. Mm-hmm. And like all the different barricades that they hit along the way. Yeah. What do you think?
So one thing I'm like really worried about, and this is just me being like impatient, but like I really hope that they like find each other more towards the beginning of the book and then deal with like everything going on that's going to be going on in Aurea that I'm assuming with the Fae crossing over. Because like I don't want to read, like I'm assuming this book's going to be thick as hell because like they just get thicker and thicker. Like I don't want to wait till like halfway, 3/4 of the way in the book for them to find each other, you know? Yeah. Just because I feel like I'm still not like completely satisfied with like their happy end. Like I want them to have a happy ending. Yeah. And like, I don't think like 1/4 of the book's going to give them that, especially with like everything that I think is going to go on with like, I think like there's going to be like a huge war in Aurea with like the Fae coming. But I think that I like how you brought up, like, you think that one of them's gonna get like captured. I kind of thought that too, but I think the dad is still alive, and I feel like the dad is gonna use Auren as like some kind of like
bait.
Yeah. And then I also think, like, I'm obviously probably gonna be completely wrong, but like how I said earlier, how his mom's power like was briefly touched on, but never like really shown. I think like something's gonna happen in Oria, and like his mom's power is like gonna save it. Like whatever her power is, like that's gonna get put to use, because like they talked about her power a decent amount, not like what it does really, but like the fact that she's like mute, we don't really know completely why. But yeah, I think something's gonna happen between his parents, and then I think Auren will find her parents.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you if you felt like there's more to her than we know. Like, do you think she comes from like a powerful family?
Oh, fuck yeah, she's
probably
very powerful.
Like princess of the Fae, like, you know?
Yeah, I don't know, because I don't know if like we know she got like taken, or somehow she ended up in Oria, but I don't know if it was really explained like how and why. But yeah, I think she's gonna like be able to like tie up loose ends with her family. I have a feeling this was like the final book, so like all these ends need to be tied together.
Yeah.
I guess I don't really know. Let me Google it.
Do you think that the Fae are going to side with like Slade and or Auren and just like obliterate all those other kingdoms that have like done them wrong? Or do you think like it'll be kind of like all these, like a triangle, like the Fae versus fourth kingdom versus the other kingdoms? Like,
I feel like they might side, just because like Slade's so in touch with his Fae side that like I don't think it's gonna be like a war between the Fae and him, because he is so in touch with his Fae side. And
like Auren's gonna win him over, probably the Fae.
What?
Do you think Auren will win over the Fae? I just feel like that's something she would do.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's the final, so they have to tie everything together.
It's gonna be a big book, I bet.
Yeah. So that's again like why I'm hoping they like find each other in the beginning, because I feel like there's more to the story than them just like meeting up again and like being reunited. So I'm hoping like it's somewhere like in the beginning of the book, like at least within the first half.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I don't want to wait that long. I'll end up skipping to the end to find out if they fucking meet. Like I usually do if it takes too long, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. What are your final thoughts on it?
Rating? I liked it, but I thought it was very slow.
Yeah, I agree.
It took about half the book for her to kind of recover. Which I think made sense, seeing as that she killed all these people or harmed this kingdom, and she's obviously very weak from everything and the rot situation. Like, I understand why that happened, but I didn't like love reading through that part of the book.
I agree.
So yeah, it was slow. I didn't, like we said, didn't really care about some of like the past stuff. I mean, again, we did need it. It made sense. But it's just not really what I wanted. So really the second half of the book is like what got me here, like really excited about it again, is just like Raven Kennedy always has like a heart pumping ending for all these books, and she like delivered for sure. So I would give this book a 4. Nice. I didn't like it as much as the other ones. It probably could have been shorter, but the end is always worth the wait. So
definitely.
What about you?
I kind of agree with everything you said. Like, it took a long time for her to recover, which was like very slow. And like during that time of recovery, that's when we had to learn about Slade's past, and like again, like those parts were pretty boring for the most part. But like towards the last half of the book, it definitely picked up, I think. Things got rolling again. Yeah, I would give it a 4 as well. It's definitely, I think the others I gave pretty much like a 5-star for most of them. Like they were really good. But this, again, like this book was needed, I think, to set up the final, you know?
Yeah.
So a lot of the things in there we did need, even the past stuff, like you said. Yeah, I liked it.
They're great books. I mean, I've been loving this series. It's been such a fun one to do this summer. So now we have to just join the mob waiting for the 5th book.
Yep.
Gold.
I'm excited.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to talk about?
No.
What are you going to read next?
I don't know. I still need to finish Silver Flames. It's like always my answer.
That's okay. You got a lot of books to get through.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. We'll see. What about you?
I just started A Soul of Ash and Blood. So it's the latest Blood and Ash book by Jennifer Armentrout.
Oh, it just came out?
Yeah, it came out, in July, like probably a month ago.
Okay. Yeah.
So I started reading it, but then I got sidetracked with like some of our podcast books. But it's a little slow to start. It's kind of tapping back into the first book from somebody else's point of view, which I don't love. I'm sure there's a reason for it, and I probably will like be hitting myself later, like complaining about it right now. But really, it's tough to get through because I'm like, I already read about this, from a different perspective. So we'll see.
Yeah,
I love those books though, so I'd be surprised if I don't like it in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.